You are listening to the Lose Weight for the Last Time podcast with Laura Conley. That's me and my dear friend Jewel, who is here today to talk to us about all things connection and friendship. But before we dive in today, you guys, we are hosting a free class on how to lose weight without doing shit that you hate. So go to lauraconley.com/class if you want to join us live, or you can just watch it instantly, whatever you want. But I am so excited about it because it is exactly what I would have wanted when I was struggling and I was in my dieting days. So without further ado, my friend Jewel is here, and I think that our conversation is going to be so amazing. And some of you guys are like, friendship, weight loss, what? There's so much connection between weight loss and health and feeling good in our bodies and connection and friendship. So, Jewel, will you introduce yourself to us and just tell us a little bit about where you live, what you do, what kind of a coach you are, and like how you got into friendship and connection coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so excited to be here. Love the name of that class. Lose weight without doing things you hate. Amazing. We love a good rhyme. And yeah, I'm so excited to be here. So I'm Jewel Hohman. You got to use like the gross part of your throat to say my last name, Hohman. And I am from, it's awful. I can't wait to drop it. It's a terrible last name. But I am from America's High Five. So over here in Michigan, it's really cold right now. And I am a social connection expert, and I coach women with high functioning social anxiety on stepping into charismatic leadership and connecting with people everywhere they go. So I got into this by not realizing that I had social anxiety throughout my entire life. And I didn't realize that I had it because I wasn't like completely awkward, if you will. Like I could hold my own in a conversation. I enjoyed being around people, but I overthought everything I said and did.
Yeah.
Like all of the time. My routine was to leave a social event and normally get in the car and like have some tears and go home and overthink everything I said, be like, oh my gosh, everyone hates me. I was holding myself to the standards of like, okay, my personality needs to be perfect. And this hurt me in a ton of ways. It stopped me from going after things that I wanted, from putting myself out there. It stopped me from really feeling connected to my friends. I had great friends growing up, truly. They were amazing, but I couldn't feel connected to them because I had so much shame. And I was constantly trying to put filters up of like, here are all the perfect versions of me, so you can't see this. And everyone would tell me all the time. They'd be like, Jewel, this is just something that like gets better as you get older. You just stop caring what you think as you get older. And then I was getting older and nothing was happening. So I was like, I'm still so socially anxious, so insecure. I graduated college and I started experiencing what many people experience. Most honestly, dare I say, everyone experiences, and that is the friendship dip. So when you leave college, you go from spending years and years and years all throughout like elementary, high school, college, you spend so much time with your peers, and then all of a sudden you're in your career, maybe you move, you start getting married, start getting engaged, start having kids, like people pair off, right? Now you're sitting in an office normally with people that are not in your peer group anymore. So you experience what's called a friendship dip. I was experiencing that, and I was like, great. Now I just went through my entire life, if you will, up until this point, feeling anxious, not feeling connected, even though I was around my peers the most. And I don't want to deal with this anymore. So I decided I was going to learn everything I can. And one thing about me is I will Google until I completely understand. I will read all of the boring articles that other people don't like to read until I understand. And I realized, oh, there's actually a science when it comes to friendship and social anxiety. And we actually know so much about it. So I started applying it to my own life. And this was in 2019. And 6 months of me applying this, I had started making friends. People were starting to tell me, people that had known me were starting to tell me, Jewel, like what's changed about you? Like what is different? Like honestly, there's no other way to say it. I was so much more fun because I was so much more relaxed.
Yes.
And so people were like, what changed in you? And then in 2020, even with a global pandemic, through applying the science and being safe, wearing my mask, social distancing, I created the friend group of my dreams. Like, I
Mm.
created an amazing friend group with people that were so supportive of me, with people that were like minded. And as you research this stuff, there's no way of ignoring that social anxiety has been increasing like crazy, that loneliness has been steadily increasing since the 1970s.
Mm.
People have been losing confidants, which are the closest kind of friendships we could have, for
Mm.
years and years. Like, people were lonely, right? And I knew that, but when I was in like 2019 to 2020 and people started messaging me saying like, hey, you're different. What happened? And other people started asking me, can I join your girls trips? Like, I want that so bad. And I'm
Mm.
serious. Like, everybody and their mama in my circle that I was like close to were messaging me about it. And that's when I was like, okay,
Mm.
this is going to be the thing. At that point in time, I had been coaching on confidence because of this.
Mhm.
I honestly, Laura, I just was like, this will just be like for fun, like
Mm.
just like a little side thing. No one's gonna care. And people cared. And then when I started talking about friendship and connection and social confidence, like being confident in social situations, then it really blew up. And I've been honestly full time
Mm.
ever since in this. So
That's
that's how I got
so
started.
cool. Oh, I never heard of the friendship dip. That's so cool. That's so interesting. I love that. I don't love that, but I love that there's a name for that. So, what I'm really curious about is, can you help us learn how to make friends as adults?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, in college and high school, before that, like it's built in. It's like a little bit more natural. And I think also, too, like a lot of my peers who are moms and or do have some just a lot of responsibility, right? It's like, when is there time to make friends? A lot of us have done some big moves. Like we just moved to Colorado, not just, that was like 6 years ago, but, or like coming out of COVID or lots of different life circumstances that happen. But as adults, like, how do we make friends? I was just talking to my girlfriend about this the other day. And I was like, oh my God, my friend Jewel's coming on the podcast. You have to listen to the podcast episode, because she's like, I don't know how to make friends. Like, I don't, I need help. And the reason, you guys, I wanted to bring Jewel onto this podcast is because you guys know that if you don't fill your pleasure cup up or your comfort cup or your connection cup up, you will get it from food. So we have to actually have friends and connection if we want to stop eating for emotional reasons. So
Mm.
that is why there is such a tie. And that is why I felt like passionate about bringing Jewel on. So tell us, Jewel, how do we make friends as adults when we have so many other priorities like pulling us in every which direction?
Yeah, I think it starts with not just thinking about friendship as like its own isolated thing that you were doing, but about building in pleasureful activities, fun activities that fill you up on its
Mm.
own. I think that is one of the most sustainable and underrated ways. And so this could be like hobbies. Like, I just learned like 2 days ago, learned how to crochet. I'm obsessed. I'm so excited. I'm making my first scarf. It's really
Oh.
lumpy. But like, for somebody, that could be like, okay, there's a club near here. Now I really want to be very specific. Joining a club on its own or going to an event, if you will, like a networking event, whatever it is in your town, is not enough. I'm going to give y'all everything to really like demystify this for you. But I think enjoying your life and bringing
Mm.
other people into that is part of it. So even if you are like, I really don't have a lot of time, Jewel, though, like I can't like join a club. I can't, I know Laura likes to do pickleball. Like, I can't like do
Hmm.
pickleball right now. Like, so what am I going to do there? And bring other people into your own life. That
Mm.
could even mean calling people on your way home from your commute and just like friends
Mm.
you already have. When it comes to making friends, bringing people into your life as far as like, okay, if you are working out during this time,
Hmm.
go as much as you can in a public space. And y'all, I live in Michigan, and where I live, I'm close to the rural part of it.
Mm.
There's still events out here. there's still things for me to do with other people.
Yeah, like you can
And
carve it into your day. I love how you're saying this because now it's not like another thing on our never ending to-do list. It's like you
that,
guys are already eating dinner. Just eat dinner with, I mean, that's what I'm doing tonight,
mhm,
right? Like my husband's out of town. I have a girlfriend, her husband's out of town. I'm like, we're gonna have to feed these freaking parasites. So like, let's do it together.
yeah. Yeah, bring other people into it. And y'all, it's vulnerable. And
Mm,
especially if you are in a place right now where you are not spending a lot of time with people, maybe you're
mm,
working from home, you are just hanging out with your kids, it's going to take you building new relational
mm,
friendship habits. Okay? And your brain is going to want to at first be like, girl, no, this is going to take extra effort. Be aware of that. That's not wrong. It's your brain caring about you and it's your brain not
mm,
wanting to add a lot to your plate. But connection takes so much off of your plate because it's so fueling. When you feel connected, your
mm.
body responds so differently to stress.
So much more regulated and
Yeah,
happy. Yeah.
1,000%. And again, like I've been doing this for the past 5 years, every single week, like with tons of women. And the other day, I was working, doing my thing, grinding, and I had an idea where I was like, okay, I'm about to go on my walk. And normally, if I go on a walk, I call a friend. Not every single time, but most of the time, if that's what feels good for me, is to call one of my close friends that live kind of far. Anyway, I was like, I don't really know if I want to call somebody. And I noticed it within myself. Y'all, no
Yeah.
one is immune to this. There's times where your brain is going to want to conserve energy, but this
Mm-hmm.
is energy giving. And we're
Mm-hmm.
not talking about like putting yourself out there to go socialize in a crowd. I know Laura's very extroverted, but I know for some of y'all, you might be like, okay, that feels gross. I'm talking about meaningful connection, and that is important whether you are introverted or extroverted, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
what I did is I called my friend on my walk, and let me tell you, the energy hit that I got from that, I was
Mm.
upset that it was later in the day because I was so hype after talking with her, right? So it's so energy giving, it's so important. And I think when it comes to making friends as an adult, normally step one is people think is to meet people.
Mm.
And it's not that that's not the case because if you move across the country, again, there's events everywhere where you can meet people. There's tons of hacks, but I'm not going to focus too much on that today. You can come check out my podcast if you want to learn more about how to like meet people and make friends because truthfully, that's not the biggest problem for a
Yeah.
lot of y'all. The biggest problem for a lot of y'all is that you just haven't deepened the bonds with the people that are already in your life that could be your friends. Most of the time, right now, amazing people
Mm.
that could be amazing potential friends for you. And this was true for me. This is
Mm-hmm.
true. I cannot tell you how often this is true for a lot of
Yeah.
people. Most of the time, you don't need to meet people.
Yeah.
And this is really important because meeting people, we all know how to meet people. That's not what makes a friend.
Yeah.
That's not what makes a friend. So, what I recommend people do is that they make a list and also it just feels good. It's
Mm-hmm.
just nice. It's such a energy giving activity. But I recommend that people make a giant list of all of the people that they meaningfully connected with within the past couple of years. And even if you haven't talked to these people in a while, make that list, make a giant list of people that you have felt the spark of connection with. Okay. Once you have this list, then go ahead and look at, for most of us, we want friends that we can go to the park with, that we can go to a restaurant with if our husband's out of town, right? And so then I recommend looking at people that are just close to you proximity wise.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did was I picked 4 women that were close to me that reflected who I wanted to be in the world because we do pick up traits from other people
Mm-hmm.
and people that I really had that spark of connection with. And what I did when I was doing this myself is I picked 4 women for that. And I chose to do that and I chose to prioritize these 4 women because I didn't want to be like, you have to be my best friend. You that kind of energy. Like we
Oh, that's
have to be
me.
best friends.
That's totally me. I have like 4 best friends that are like, Laura made me be her best friend. I didn't really have a choice. Sorry. Yeah, that's why we have Jewel on the podcast. That's why I'm not teaching friendship.
But that right there, though, you have to pursue people and be willing to put yourself out
Yeah.
there and do that. Truly, I thought about this the other day, Laura, where I was like, oh, every friend I have, like a super close relationship, I either felt like they chose me and I was like, okay, they really want to be my friend. Like they're really making effort. Or I chose them. And
Yeah.
it was one of these four.
Ooh.
It's honestly, y'all, it's vulnerable and that's
Yeah.
okay. It's so worth it, and let people self-select. So when I was doing this with these four women, what ended up happening was one of the women really just didn't want to be my friend, which is fine. She had a lot of stuff going on. I know, can you imagine? But she just
No, yeah. I'm sitting here a little dumbfounded. I'm like, what? Tell me. Give me the scoop. Give me the tea.
it's good tea, I will say. But anyway, she did not want to be my friend, which is fine. And it was fine because I had other women
Mm-hmm.
and using, I'm sure what y'all talk about so much on the podcast as well, like using like self-love principles and being able to have my own back, it really didn't end up meaning anything to me. Not that I didn't feel sad
Yeah.
or hurt
Yeah.
by it, but I didn't make it mean anything about me.
Yeah. Like you're allowed to feel sad, but there isn't this whole shame on top of it. It's like that happened to me. Somebody opted out of one of the groups that I created, like a friendship group. And it like, there's like a little bit of a sting, but it doesn't mean anything about me. It's just about her and what she wants. And like,
Right.
that's totally fine. And I'm allowed to be sad or whatever.
Yeah.
And also, or not sad, right? I mean, now I get so practiced that I'm like, whatever, everybody, you just do you. And, it doesn't hurt that bad too after you practice for a long time. But I think it is really healthy to like normalize, like it's allowed to sting. You're allowed to be sad and not make it mean anything about who you are as a person.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you are making it mean about something about who you are as a person, then it just gives you more information on how you can support yourself through that, which is a whole other thing. But that happened. Then one of the women became like a closer friend. And then two of those women to this day, again, this was 6 years ago at this point. Wow. Okay. But this is a while ago. Two of those women became my confidants, my best friends in that year. And so I really recommend everybody like start with who you know, who you've already connected with. And these two women that are now like my best friends, and I also, by the way, interviewed them on my podcast. It's episode 2. Everyone loves this podcast because it's me telling my friends for the first time how I made them my friends, like first time sober without wine, right? I was like, hi, this is how I made you my friend. And y'all, I think it's such a helpful experience to hear because you hear my friends be like, oh my gosh, I wanted this. And it was like the best gift that you could have ever given me, right?
Oh, they're like, thank you for like being willing, being courageous. Yeah.
So start with people that you know. I've emphasized that enough, but I think that's so huge. And these two women were people that I hadn't talked to in 2 years. And I just reached out to them and started doing the rest of this. So every connection ever has 3 things. Even our relationships with our partners, even our siblings, every connection ever has these 3 things. We don't just meet somebody and become best friends. We love that fantasy. But clicking connection can happen in an instant. Friendship takes these 3 things. We don't just meet somebody, have an amazing time chatting with them for 10 minutes at a networking event, and then feel comfortable calling them later that day or the next day because we're sad, right?
Yeah.
It's friendship takes these 3 things. And those 3 things, if everybody can like imagine a triangle, okay, their base of the triangle are meaningful moments. So moments where we feel supported, seen, where we share a laugh, where we have fun, meaningful moments. This could be, like your coworker validating you about something at work. Like they were like, yeah, you did a really good job at that presentation, whatever it is. This could be a ton of different things, meaningful moments. And then how we deepen a bond with somebody.
Yeah.
And if you can imagine, like they're like arrows pointing up to the pinnacle of the triangle. So these 2 things. So one side.
I'm like taking notes, you guys.
Oh, good. So one side of the triangle is consistency. People hear that and they have a lot of reactions. They're like, great. Another thing I have to be consistent. We're talking about having fun though, y'all. It's really fun. So consistency. So people hear that, they have a lot of reactions. One of them is people hear that and then they're like, Jewel, that's BS, because I have a friend that I only see like twice a year and we're super close. Without me hearing anything from y'all, because I know there's somebody
Yeah.
listening that has that experience, without me hearing anything from y'all, is this your college roommate? Is this somebody that you have spent a lot of time and have a lot of history with in the past?
A lot of meaningful moments.
Exactly. And I say college roommate because that's typically where we make like one of, like, that science says that somebody that we meet in college is typically our best friend for life, like our college roommate. So is this somebody that you have a lot of history with? It probably is. It's probably the friend that you spent the past 5 years working next to, and now you're at a different job. And so you don't only have to see her 2 times a year to feel really close with her. You've already done the rest of these 3 things and built up that relationship. So our brain, we can feel connected to that person without seeing them very frequently, because we've already done all that hard work. We've already created all the emotional investment with that person. So if you will, like, the bank is already there. Like, the bank is full of connection and we just get to tap into it when we want to. So there's that. And so consistency also could be broken down into 2 parts: history, like that, or frequency. This is why so many of us become so close to our coworkers. We sit next to them every day. My partner right now just got a new job, and he has a best friend who is in her 70s.
Oh my God, I love this.
There's another woman who I think is in her 60s who's becoming his best friend. So because he's around them all the time. And so when we're beginning friendships, what we want to do is we want to build in that frequency. And that is typically one of the hardest parts for people, are just the logistics of that. And we could do that in a number of ways. I've worked with a lot of moms where we have done this. It's different for everybody, but truly, like what we talked about earlier, building in things in your life that are already pleasurable and bringing people into that is a huge, huge, huge hack. And people want to be a part of it. So through consistency, as we increase consistency over time, as we build up time with somebody, we build history, we see them frequently, we deepen the bond. We also deepen the bond, if you will. The other side of the triangle is through vulnerability. I also get a lot of reactions to this where people hear this and they're like, yes, love. I love to be vulnerable. Let's get deep. Let's get in there, which, yes, absolutely. Or people hear that and they're like, oh my gosh, gross.
Barf.
So yeah, barf. So wherever you fall on the vulnerability scale, we want to think about it incrementally. Because one thing that I did, Laura, that was not helpful and, is a little cringe. But one thing I did, and you know what? If you do it, hey, I did it all the time for years. So we're in this together if you catch yourself doing this. But I would trauma dump on people. And because I thought, best friends are just people that know everything about each other. So before I learned about this work and the science and was just applying it to my own life, I was trauma dumping on people like crazy. And then I was like, what the heck? Why aren't we like best friends now?
I told them all my like deep dark secrets. Yeah, no, I think that's like really helpful to call out.
And what it can do, y'all, is it can make a lot of people feel unsafe because it can feel like too much, too fast, too soon.
Yeah.
That said, so if you're an oversharer, which, side quest here, extroverts can have social anxiety, and it typically looks like oversharing is one of the key signs of that. So if you're an oversharer...
Are you calling me out, Jewel? She's like, if you are 110% extroverted like you, it's so true.
So there might be some anxiety going on where a lot of times extroverts will try to overshare to be like, quick, we'll connect real fast. That's what I was doing as well. Like, let's connect real fast. That way I feel safe with you. Social anxiety just looks different in extroverts.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really helpful call out because it's like, I think a lot of introverts assume that extroverts don't have social anxiety. But like, I am, again, the most extroverted person I know, and I still get social anxiety sometimes. Right? So I'm like packing question cards in my purse everywhere I go. Like, if there's a lull in the conversation, not a problem. I have a question card. I have table topics in my purse. Don't worry, guys.
I love it. I love it. And y'all, this is like a whole other thing. a whole other thing. And I've taken so long to explain this friendship triangle already.
Yeah,
But
because
I
I
do
keep
think,
interrupting you. Sorry.
no, we're just having so much fun. But the opposite of social anxiety is actually not confidence. The opposite of social anxiety is psychopathy. The people
Mm,
that don't have any social anxiety at all are
mm,
psychopaths. So
Oh, that's so helpful. I'm normal.
yes, yes, and there's levels, right? And there's I say this because I like to say we want to get our social anxiety to a place of like social alertness where we're just
Mm,
aware because a lot of times people will try to shut down social anxiety by
oh,
just like being like, nope, I'm not anxious, it's not a problem, like being unbothered. And it's like, babe,
mm.
why are you trying to be a psychopath, you know?
Yeah.
So
Babe, that's so good.
and then the last thing with vulnerability though, what we want to go for is incremental vulnerability.
Mm,
So the best way I can describe this is we want to see a little bit more of them and then see a little bit more of us every single
mm,
time we are with them. And
mm-hmm,
so even if you have a coworker and they come over to your house after work, that's vulnerable because they're
mm,
seeing the way you decorate your home, they're seeing the way you
mm.
kick off your shoes, right? That's vulnerability. So we want to go with seeing a bit more of each other over time. Now, I will say, I know I just talked about oversharing. I do think generally for the most part, it's helpful for us to start owning like our imperfections and owning ourselves. And that's also a huge hack for getting rid of social anxiety because when social anxiety is harmful, it's typically fueled by shame. We're not just afraid of other people's judgments, we're afraid of people seeing the things that we're ashamed of. So we get anxious about it. We get like me, where you try to perfect yourself. So that way no one sees the things that you're ashamed of. So I do want to say, I know I just gave like a whole rant on social anxiety and extroverts and oversharing, but if you're on the side of oversharing, I'd rather you overshare a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
So, as we increase consistency and vulnerability, we move people from acquaintances all the way up to confidants. And that is typically what we are all lonely for.
Mm,
Most of the people listening to this podcast already know enough people
mm,
that you just want to have deeper, meaningful
mm.
bonds. And you can do that through the stuff we talked about today. But really, again, the biggest problem for a lot of people is getting over the mental stuff that blocks them from doing that.
Yeah. So, like, what's like step one? Like the first baby step, the giant list. Okay. I love like the
Mm-hmm.
giant list. And then what is the next step?
I would reach out.
Yeah. Okay.
I would reach out, initiate. And if you are somebody that struggles with anxiety, you might be in a place of like, oh, I'm bothering them. No, it
Mm,
doesn't matter. Let people self select. But
mm,
truly, even if somebody's busy, the likelihood that they're lonely is actually pretty high. Before the
mm.
pandemic, 67% of Americans felt lonely on a regular basis.
Yeah.
It's even higher for Gen Z. 73% of Gen Zers feel lonely. So I say this because you are offering somebody the best gift in the world. So the next step is to reach out. I would even vulnerably say, hey, I want to be friends. I want to spend some time with you.
Mm,
Let's do this. And that was one thing I did. So that's the next step, reach out. The third baby step is something for everybody to be mindful of, and it's to change your habits and reach out to this person consistently. Challenge yourself
mm,
to think of these people, to send them like a, hey, I'm thinking of you text.
mm,
One huge hack that I did
mm.
was I vulnerably, without really like being super close to these women yet, is I asked them all to go on a staycation with me. And we
Oh,
spent a lot of time together at like an Airbnb just in the state and had so much fun. So there are tons of things
oh.
that we can do. Again, what's going to stop people though is their anxiety, their thoughts about themselves, their thoughts about others, or even their thoughts about their time, their lives, their friendships
Mm,
itself. Like it's too hard. It's not too hard. I did it so fast. And if you don't believe me, you can listen to my episode where I have my friends on it.
that's so fun.
It's so fun.
That's so cool. Okay, so tell us what your podcast is. Tell us how we can find you if we want to learn more, because I'm so excited for you guys to implement what she's taught and to learn more if you want.
Yeah. So it's called the Socially Delightful Podcast. You can find it anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can also find Me anywhere at Connection with Jewel. Jewel is spelled like a gem or like a rock, Jewel. And we actually are so proud. We put together 2 trainings that we used at the largest women's conference in my state, and they went over so well that we turned them into freebies for everybody. So those trainings are how to belong at any event and how to
Mm.
turn people you meet into friends. So it's about applying
Oh,
the work we talked about today, but making it more specific to you. And you can get that if you go to connectionwithjewel.com and sign up for my email list. We will just send you those trainings. And if you take them, I would love to know your wins or what stood out to you, what resonated with you about it. It's so fun to hear that from y'all. So
oh my God. Thank you so much. This was so helpful. I have like 17 more questions, so you're just going to have to come back.
I would love to be honored. Thank you so much for having me, Laura.
Oh my God, you're welcome so much. I love you. Okay, you guys, let me know what you think. I want to hear what other questions you guys have about friendship. Let's do it. Okay, I hope you guys all have the best week ever. Go check Jewel out. I love you all. Ciao, ciao.